Hello there all. I hope you're having a great day. It's a beautiful day here in Cape Town. Sun is out. A little bit of a breeze. Inside is nice and cool. Outside though in the sun is hot. Anyway, the next installment of the adoption. My adoption. Finding my birth mum. That was a journey and a half. I started looking for adoption records when I was still living in Portugal. Okay, I didn't find anything. What I had got when I was still in Zimbabwe, when I went to apply for my Portuguese passport at the Portuguese embassy in Harare, they told me I had to have a full birth certificate. Now, if you're adopted, you get an abridged birth certificate. It's just your name, your date of birth, and where you were born. And, of course, your number, your registration number, or whatever that number is. And that's it, okay? And if you've got a closed adoption, you've got to hope to get a full birth certificate. Anyway, they told me I had to have one. So that meant I had to contact the births, deaths, and whatever that is, okay, in Pretoria in South Africa, because that's where I was born. And that's where I was registered. So anyway, I did, and I sent a photocopy, certified photocopy of my... No, I had to send an original. That's right, I had to send an original. So I sent my original birth certificate. I was really frightened because, that's the only one I got. Anyway, it took them 6 months to reply to say that they were going to look into it, and they returned my original. Okay, and it took about 2 years to get this full birth certificate. And then what they did, they didn't send it to me, it got sent to the Portuguese embassy. So the Portuguese embassy eventually called me, okay, because we lived far from Harare. Okay, we lived in the other side of a town called Masvingo. It's between Beitbridge. Where we lived was between Beitbridge and Masvingo No, hang on a minute. We were in Bulawayo. Yeah, we were in Bulawayo by then. No. Oh, I'm getting all muddled up. We had moved to Masvingo, that's right. So Masvingo to Harare wasn't that bad. You could do it in a day. Anyway, we went through, and the woman that was behind the desk, she was in charge of the desk people in the Portuguese embassy. She was really rude, and I didn't get on with her very well. But there was a guy from Mozambique sitting on the side and behind the desk, and he was the one that got my birth certificate, and he put it on the desk, okay? And I said to the woman, can I have a look at it? And she said, no, you're not allowed to. And he waited until she was distracted. She was busy with my husband, okay, who is the Portuguese guy. And while she was busy with my husband, the Mozambican guy sort of signaled to me to move on over, and he put the birth certificate in a way that I could see it. And that is the only time that I found out my birth mum's name. Okay. And then I had a birth mum's name, but I didn't have anything else because I couldn't remember the numbers. Anyway, because we went from Zimbabwe and we went to live in Portugal. Okay, and when we were there, seriously, people love paperwork. I'd been living there for about 3-4 years, and I'd never applied for a Portuguese ID because that's sort of, I mean, I didn't like the country, okay, and that sort of, me applying for an ID was going to make it really final, okay. I used my Portuguese passport if they wanted ID, and on that, I mean, it was so confusing. I was Sally Spencer, my maiden name, and then I was Sally Grasser, my married name, and then I was Sally Spencer Grasser, all on one passport. I mean, they used to, it was, I never knew who I was. I had a major identity crisis. Anyway, it wasn't 3 or 4 years. It must have been about 10, 11 years I'd been living in Portugal without a Portuguese ID. And then eventually I had to get one. I can't remember why. I think, yeah, I had to renew my Portuguese passport and I had to have the identity to do it. And I went to the place and they said to me, you need a prova de vida, which means a proof of life. So I said, well, I'm here. The next biggest thing to me is the wall behind me. I'm here. You can prick me. I bleed. Okay? No. You've got to have a proof of life. So I said, well, how am I supposed to get the proof of life? No, you've got to write to the Harare Portuguese embassy and get a proof of life. I mean, I just burst out laughing. More ridiculous than that you couldn't get. I had my Portuguese passport. What more do you want? I'm alive. I'm here. Okay? I'm breathing. I've got a big mouth. I got a hell of an opinion. I mean, anyway, we did it. Okay? Wrote to we had to send it to the Lisbon head office. And then from there, they had to send it to the Portuguese consul in Harare. Now, when they sent it back a year and a half later, I mean, I'm sure that the donkey that they hired to deliver the letter, okay, had a nervous breakdown along the way and mated about 50 times. A year and a half to get from Lisbon to Harare. And then from Lisbon to Lolé, where we were down in the south of Portugal. So anyway, when they sent it all back, all the secrecy that they'd had about my full birth certificate had suddenly disappeared. And I had my full birth certificate in front of me. And that I got my mother's old ID number from there. Okay. And then I noticed something. Instead of the 3rd of January, they'd put the 3rd of May. So when I went to go and eventually pick up my ID card, you had to go to the court, the magistrate's court in Lolé, to go and pick it up. And I went and I was looking at the ID and I said to the woman, hang on a minute, I'm not the 3rd of May, I'm the 3rd of January. She said, my darling, please, just pretend you're the 3rd of May. She said, it's taken you nearly 2 years. You're going to start it all again? She said, you'll be dead, buried, and fossilized. I said, okay. So, in my Portuguese passport, I am the 3rd of May. In my South African passport, I'm the 3rd of January. Okay? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, now I had my mum's name and her ID number, her old ID number. So, when I came back to South Africa, I'd been here about a year. Well, not back to South Africa, when I came to live in South Africa, which was the biggest mistake of my life. But anyway, I'd been here about a year and a half, and I started really looking for my birth mum because I realized, time's running out. You don't know if she was an ill woman and all this kind of business. You don't know what kind of life she had. She's getting older. So I really stepped it up. And I tried through the social services in Pretoria Okay, and they said to me, no, because my adoption was through the Salvation Army, I couldn't, they didn't have any records. So I said, okay, cool. So it was a very nice lady that I dealt with. So she said to me, rather get hold of the Salvation Army. She said, or else get hold of this lady that used to work for us, and now she's retired, but she helps people find, she helps people find the birth parents or the child or whatever the circumstance is. So I said, okay, cool. So I got hold of the Salvation Army, and they told me, yeah, it was through them and it was done up in Joburg. They really didn't have very much to tell me, okay? So I thought, well, that's a kind of dead end. So I got hold of the lady in Pretoria, okay? And she searched and she searched and she searched, and she said, no, I can find nothing for you. I gave her all the info. She said, no, it's really complicated, this, okay? She said, I don't know what you can do. Now, in the meantime, there's a magazine here that they have in South Africa called You. And there used to be a couple of pages in the magazine dedicated to looking for lost friends and family. And over the years, I'd noticed that people had been looking for their children, okay, and the children had been looking for the birth parents and that kind of business. But you had to put there, I am adopted, okay? And then they would contact, if they found if the birth parents or the child were found, there would be a whole palaver. So I thought, no, knickers to this. I'm going to go the other way. So I just put an ad in there, okay, looking for a lady that I knew called Naomi Berry. She was a nurse. She was in Cape Town at some stage. Okay. Oh, hang on a minute. There's more before I did that. Before I did that, I took her name and I put it into the archives online search, the South African Archives online search here in Cape Town where I live, okay? And it gave me, I ended up with a whole lot of documents about her divorce, about another child that she'd had, and all this kind of business, okay? So when I went to put the advert in the You magazine, I put she lived in Cape Town, and I put the years that she lived in Cape Town. I would like to be I'd like to be in contact with her again, okay? And I didn't say anything about being adopted or anything like that, okay? So then, about, I think it was 2 months that I put the advert in, okay, and it came out. And then one Saturday morning, I got a telephone call, and it was from a lady, and she said to me, are you looking for Naomi Berry? So I said, yes, I am. And she said, well, I am her daughter. What do you want with her? And I thought, oh boy, this I'm not prepared for. What am I going to say? And I thought, look, just be basically honest and that's it. And Lord help me with it, okay? And I turned around and I said to her, look, my name is, my maiden name was Sally Spencer, okay? She is, well, she could be my birth mum. Do you know if she had a child before and gave it up for adoption? And there was just dead silence, and I thought, oh, knickers. I've put my foot in it. Anyway, she came back to me eventually, okay, and she said to me, yes. And she told me where my birth mum was, okay, and everything else. Okay, and this is now turning into a long thing, all right? So I'm going to end now, and the next thing will be me speaking to my birth mum and taking a trip to go and meet her. And may your gods go with you. Take care. Have a fantastic rest of your day and week. Be kind and good to each other. Ciao, ciao.